Hey guys, in this video I'm talking about my experience on Wellbutrin. I've been on Wellbutrin for about a month and it has been life-changing. I honestly wish I would have been on this my entire adult life. I plan on being on it long term. It has been that incredibly helpful to me, and I know that sounds like a little dramatic, but it's helped areas of my life that have been a struggle for so long. So I actually didn't know about Wellbutrin, and I'm someone that tries to make really informed health decisions. I've been on a health journey this year. Ever since I was done breastfeeding my youngest, I was like, all right, I want to whip my body into shape. I want to get healthy. I want to be the best version of me. I lost a lot of weight earlier this year, but a big problem with my health I've noticed was my chronic fatigue. I have had sometimes debilitating chronic fatigue really all throughout adulthood. I do have a little bit of a heart issue, and I thought that could be it. I was earlier this year diagnosed with mild to moderate sleep apnea, and I started using a mouth guard, and that helped like a little bit with fatigue in the mornings. But I am definitely someone that has to take a nap throughout the day, or the fatigue feels really, really overwhelming. I totally tank in the evenings. Sometimes it's hard to even put a sentence together. I'm so tired. I get hit with waves of fatigue. So I had been really looking for something to improve that. And I was on TikTok actually, and I came across a doctor's page who was talking about Wellbutrin and how Wellbutrin helps with depression, with chronic fatigue, with ADD, ADHD. It can help with weight management and binge eating. And I was like, what? This exists? I'd actually been on a low dose antidepressant for maybe like 10 years. I do struggle with depression at certain times than others, and it felt good to be on a low dose of something. But I was on Zoloft, which is an SSRI, which like Zoloft and Prozac, they help with serotonin levels, but they can also make you feel more tired, and they can also potentially make you gain weight. And so I wanted to be on a really low dose of that. And I was also worried that that was making my chronic fatigue worse and not helping with my weight management. So I wasn't like loving that I was on that, but I felt like I needed to be on that just for mental health reasons. And so I was so excited that there was this alternative to it. And I immediately started like deep diving into Wellbutrin, learning all about it. It actually kind of acts like a stimulant. You take it in the morning instead of at night. It can help you feel awake. It impacts the dopamine in your brain, so it can make you feel more happy, more alert, more motivated. And I was like, oh my goodness, I think this would be perfect for me. I also do struggle with ADD. I was diagnosed as a kid. I've lived my whole life unmedicated. I do a lot of things like a lot of lists and a lot of daily troubleshooting, but that's definitely like also a struggle in my life. And so I was like, oh my goodness, if there's an antidepressant that can treat all of these things, like I really want to try it. So I portal messaged my primary care doctor, and she said, sure, right away. She said, I'll send it in. So I got put on Wellbutrin, the starting 150 milligram dose, Wellbutrin XL. So it's extended release. You take one in the morning and then it's extended release. So it extend releases throughout the day versus some people are having, if you don't get an extended release, you can take several, like one in the morning, one in the afternoon, one in the evening or something. So I do the extended release just once in the morning. And you guys, day one, I started noticing a difference. Real quick, let's just talk a little more about what Wellbutrin is. Wellbutrin is a medicine that is approved as an antidepressant and to help people quit smoking. It works in the brain to stimulate dopamine, and so it is kind of a stimulant, which is different than other antidepressants that I feel like are more commonly prescribed, like Prozac or Zoloft, which work with serotonin levels and can make you a little more sleepy and also can potentially make you gain weight. Wellbutrin typically gives people an increase in energy, and it's also prescribed off-label for chronic fatigue, for ADHD and ADD, and for binge eating disorders and weight management. Some side effects I read about were dry mouth, insomnia, headaches. Some people say it makes their anxiety a little worse. Some people say they have an increase in rage. And some people say they have stomach discomfort. I have really only noticed a little bit of insomnia and headaches that first week. Here is how Wellbutrin helped my chronic fatigue. So chronic fatigue, I feel like sometimes would run my life. It was at times debilitating. I would feel really insecure about it too. I'd be like, other adults my age don't need to stop and nap in the afternoon or take breaks or lay down or get hit with waves of fatigue where it's just hard to continue functioning. It's always been really hard, but it's been extra hard in my mothering journey because you can't just stop and take a break. It's been hard as an adult with work because you can't just stop and take a nap. Day one on Wellbutrin, I was amazed by how much better I felt. I didn't feel jittery or anything, but I woke up, had my Wellbutrin, had my 1 cup of coffee, and then throughout my day, I wasn't just like hit with these waves of fatigue. I wasn't reaching for cup 2 or cup 3 of coffee just so that I could complete tasks or so that I wouldn't feel like falling asleep at my desk or at home. I just felt like I had a really great night's sleep and just woke up and had a cup of coffee, and it just kind of stayed like that. And even when I got to like the evening, when I like normally am crashing so hard, I was kind of fine. Like I wasn't like bouncing off the walls or anything, but I was like good. And just that feeling of like, oh, I can interact with my kids. I can, you know, clean up the living room real quick, like all of that at like 6 p.m., 7 p.m., 8 p.m. and not just be like struggling so hard to like put one foot in front of the other because of fatigue is so helpful. And I feel like now I know that a lot of this chronic fatigue issue was a dopamine issue, I think, because if Wellbutrin helped me so much with chronic fatigue and Wellbutrin helps with dopamine, I think that that is really a lot of what was going on. Now I'm someone, I still like to get 9 hours of sleep. If I can take a nap, I do feel great if I take a nap. But if I'm not able to, I'm still able to function. I can't tell you how great it feels to not be exhausted all the time. I'm able to be more patient with my husband and my kids. I'm able to accomplish so much more. I'm in a better mood. The help with the chronic fatigue, I feel like, has been the most life-changing. This is how Wellbutrin helped my depression. So I have dealt with depression since I was a teenager, struggling with sometimes lack of motivation, sometimes just feeling a little extra down, things that would happen would make me feel a little extra sad, a little extra insecure. I'd maybe be a little glass half empty. During specific periods of life, it was worse or harder than others. But that's why I was on a low dose of Zoloft for so long, because I just felt like I needed to be on a little something. And getting on Wellbutrin, I definitely noticed a big difference. I feel a lot happier throughout the day. I'm much more optimistic. I feel like I'm able to see things a lot more clearer, while I might, like if something happened at work, I might read an email previously, like really insecure, like, oh my gosh, I don't think they liked this work I did, and get insecure about it. Well, now I just kind of read the email for what it is. I feel like I get a lot less obtrusive thoughts, a lot less like down thoughts. In general, I think it just has made me happier and more optimistic. Here's how Wellbutrin helped my ADD. As a child, I was diagnosed with ADD without the hyperactive component. So back then, they did diagnose it differently. I think they maybe call them all ADHD now, but I was diagnosed with ADD without the hyperactive component. I'm not a very hyperactive person, but I am a very easily distracted person. So I'll get really lost in thought, or like in college, if it was a lecture, so if like a professor was up there just straight talking, I would start staring at the wall and then be like, oh, that's an interesting design, and then like start counting the tiles, and then I'm like, oh crap, I lost 45 minutes, you know? Or just get really lost in thoughts and then not realize that someone was trying to talk to me, or like, I'm a very easily distracted person. I did some therapy growing up, and I have like a lot of things in place. Like I always have a couple notes on my phone, and I try to be really as organized as I can be. But that is always something that I've struggled with a little bit, and just kind of, it's not something that was terrible. Like I've never been on Adderall for it, which Adderall probably could have helped me. But it is something that I always have struggled with a little bit and been aware of. and had to work on. And I do feel like Wellbutrin has helped me so much with that. I'm able to stay on task so much easier. I am much more motivated. I knock things out and knock things out completely. My first day on Wellbutrin when I was in the office, I was like, oh my goodness, I got a day's worth of work and done in like 2 hours. Like today, I was in my kid's bathroom and I was like, you know what? I've been meaning to clean the grout in here for a really long time. Why don't I just knock that out? And so I just like got my steamer out and just knocked it out. When I feel like before I was on Wellbutrin, I would have like made a note, but I don't know if I would have gotten around to it. There are so many household tasks that I have gotten done since being on Wellbutrin. And now, before I was on Wellbutrin, I did like have a running list on my phone of like organizational or like home things I want to do. I was like definitely a list person. I did my best, but it gets done when I'm on Wellbutrin. This is how Wellbutrin helps me with my weight management. So earlier this year, I did 6 months on a GLP-1 medication. GLP-1s are like Ozempic, Mounjaro, Wegovy, Zepbound, and so I did compound tirzepatide. I did a weight loss injection for 6 months. I lost 34 pounds. It was so wonderful. It was so helpful. Definitely check out my videos on that. I used the telehealth Join Fridays for my weight loss, and it was great. I did decide to get off of it. I weaned off of it slowly, made a bunch of lifestyle changes, and I was like pretty successfully maintaining off of it. Around month 4 off of it, I did gain like a couple pounds, and so as soon as I started Wellbutrin, that weight came right off. I do notice on Wellbutrin, I think about food a lot less. So when I was on the GLP-1, I was amazed when the food noise went away. Food noise is like when you're just like constantly kind of thinking and obsessing about food and your next meal or your next snack, and like it just kind of clouds your head. And so Wellbutrin brought that back down, which is great. I do notice some appetite suppression on Wellbutrin. I'm full a little sooner. I'm much less snacky. It's much easier to say no to a dessert. It does, I think, because it affects the dopamine in your brain, you're not craving that dopamine hit from food as much, which is just great. So I love having that little bit of help, that little bit of food noise suppression and appetite suppression that comes with Wellbutrin. So on a GLP-1 medication, you really don't think about food much at all. You get hungry occasionally, of course, and so you're supposed to eat like really high protein and healthy, but you feel really full all the time too. So on Wellbutrin, I don't feel like really full all the time, but I think about food much less. It's much less of an obsession, which, you know, Wellbutrin is prescribed for smoking cessation, so it definitely helps that section of your brain with like addiction and just needing a dopamine hit. And I do think I'm someone that used food as a dopamine hit. So it's really a blessing that it's helping me with my weight management as well. Here are the side effects I had on Wellbutrin. Really just that first week, I had some headaches here and there. And then I did probably starting more like week 2, start having some insomnia. So I'm someone who typically could like go to bed and fall asleep within 5 minutes, definitely. It just takes longer to fall asleep for me now on Wellbutrin. And that feels really weird because I've never been like that. I've always been someone who's really able to fall asleep super fast. And so instead of like fret about it, I'm like, just enjoy resting. Just like lay here and enjoy resting in the dark in your bed. And like, if you're a mom or a dad, like you get it. It's like, no one's touching you. Everything's calm. Just enjoy resting. And so I do that. I just tell myself that now. And it bothers me less if it takes me like 20 minutes or so to fall asleep. Sometimes I am like suddenly awake at 2 a.m. for kind of no reason. And it's not like I'm having like anxious bad thoughts necessarily. I'm just kind of like awake. And so same thing, I just kind of tell myself, like, just enjoy resting. It's fine. Like, because I know the next day I probably am not going to be super tired or anything because I got the Wellbutrin. I typically am still able to nap. Just same thing. It takes me just like a little longer to fall asleep. And I usually probably nap shorter. I know some people say they have increased anxiety on Wellbutrin. I have not really noticed that. But I could see how that could happen for some people because it's a stimulant. Also, some people say they have like fits of rage or something on Wellbutrin, and I have not noticed that either. All right, that's my video. I am really grateful to be on this medication, and it's been really helpful to me, and I just wanted to make a video talking all about it. Everyone's experience is going to be different. If you've tried Wellbutrin, I would love to hear your experience in the comments because it's so interesting to hear how different people respond. Definitely talk to your doctor before making any decisions. I'm not a doctor. I'm just sharing my personal experience here. I like to make health and wellness videos. I've really been on a health and wellness journey the past year. If you look at my channel, you can tell. And this has been helpful to me, so I wanted to share that. Please give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. Subscribe if you have not already, and I will see you in my next video.